We may need to say that we're not going to do a 3 review.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be...
We're saving it for the
end. Yeah.
Waiting. And it's on. Yes. Yeah, we're on. I feel like okay, it's going to be... Actually, I'll turn my mic off so it's not too loud.
What? Yes. Oh, that. Too loud. Wasn't sure what you were talking about. Hold on. Let me get the back part on here.
Sorry, had to do some mic adjustments.
Where's the?
Just to the left.
Oh, mine's like this. Just the touch. I like the touch.
Tap.
Not
Hello. Who's first up?
Brian Friend.
Look at you, buddy.
Man, stepped right into the game. Hey, wait. Do you have your drink? Brian?
I have.
Well, I know you do. I mean, Brian.
Tink, tink. Oh, man, the sun got me today.
It was hot.
F.
Hi, Emily. It was hot.
Yeah, it was hot today. It was the
first time that it wasn't foggy in the morning when we got out there, which was nice.
Yes, because I get cold really easily.
Well, that's what's so weird. I don't know if you guys know this, but it would go from super cold. Yeah, Jacqueline. Super cold with all the fog. And then the second it was gone, like the air was still cold. And then the sun was like a magnifying glass on your face. And it was like,
and I heard some of you guys heard the conversation of me feeling like I have a fever because I'm like sweating, but I've got chills at the same time because mics were hot today. So anyway.
Oh, yeah, Jacqueline. That's right. You were the one that had the picture. You're working in your dental office.
Yes.
And then you had the CrossFit games going on at the same time.
Yeah.
I think I put on there like, yes, priorities. Yeah.
What's up, Chad?
There you go. Oh, sorry, man.
Wait, it only had football coverage?
I don't know.
Oh.
There's a little bit of delay, so there's a little bit of a lag between us here. But I saw a lot of people, they put the schedule down, and they would show that the CrossFit Games was on. I think actually Brian Friend did that. That was one of the posts he put up, saying, there it is. That was kind of cool.
All right.
Hold on. I'm going to get my beer, too. Hold on.
Do you want to open it now, or do you want to open it on
we got 18 people. Like, let's kick this thing off and get going.
All right,
here.
We're going to start it off. Let me start this off. For those of you that are familiar with the show,
you know how it goes.
And it goes a little something like this. To get with the programming, I am Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grunler.
Wolverine.
Yes.
And it is day 2 is done.
Day 2's done.
Day 3 is awaiting. Only one more day. I'm so sad.
Yeah.
I'm so sad.
It's like when you wait for Christmas and you have that whole build up and then it's Christmas and you're like, yes! And then it's 12 noon, you're like, oh, it's almost over.
No.
And then it goes right back to the regular same old.
Yeah, it's like, do I have a hidden present that you didn't give me so I can open up after lunch? And maybe we do. Who knows? It's Dave Castro.
Everyone leaves. Everyone leaves, and he adds an event on Monday.
He like shows up at your door. Then the final event is
7 minutes of burpees. Ready, go
now. You like wake up and he's standing over your bed.
Oh, jeez.
100 burpees for time.
All right, hold on.
Winner take all.
Shit. All right, let's beer up. We're gonna beer up.
Yes. Wait, I gotta make sure I don't screw this up. Okay, so Bill and I have our Stellas. 3, 2, 1. Yes, I didn't screw it up this time.
All right. See, I talked into my beer bottle.
Bill just talked into the beer bottle because he has a handheld mic and he put the beer bottle to his mouth to talk into. That's fantastic.
All right, I'm good now.
It's fantastic. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are on YouTube Live, and we are recording to our podcast as well. And before we get into it, we want to thank our Programmatrons for sticking with us. Those who support the show beyond what you guys already do. You can go to patreon.com for $6 a month. Support the show financially. It allows us to do this more, and it allows us to do more for you. Go to patreon.com/getwiththeprogramming. We give you guys one free workout a week. We switch back and forth between who does it. This week it's
me, actually.
It is on you. So
it's on me. I got to get something.
You better get that together.
I got to get that together. Now, I'm going to try to get it out on Monday. I'll do the best I can, but I need to get another car and need to drive home, and I'm going to be coaching Monday night. So I'll do what I can. If not tomorrow night, then I'll get it on Tuesday.
We have finalized.
We have some slack.
We have finalized the car key saga, which we'll get into after this. And every week starting, I think we can start when we get back. We'll start when we get back. We're going to announce our very first weekly winner of our free month of programming. So if you follow us and support us on patreon.com, we will pick one random Programmatron and give you guys a free full month of programming. So we got 65 now. Ooh. Unbelievable. 65. Seriously, guys.
So cool.
Thank you. I don't know. I don't want to mess it up more than that. Thank you. It's really cool. It feels good. It's nice to know we have some fans out there. It fires us up to keep giving you guys as high quality of content as we can possibly do, which is why we jump into my room at the end of each long day and give you guys a little episode. And
it's my first beer, Muhammad, not my 1,000th, or what you have on there, 100th, not my 100th. Of course, if you look at all the bottles over here, it looks a little different.
You can't, if you guys are watching on YouTube, if we were to pan the camera, which we're not going to.
No.
They don't reservice your rooms, trying to keep the interaction. A little bubble thing. So the 4 beers we've had between each other are starting to stack up a little bit on my nightstand. So it looks like a college dorm room at the moment. But from what you guys can see on camera, it's nice and clean. But before we get into day number 2, I brought my single serving packets with us this morning.
You did.
We could bub up before we get on the old broadcast tube. Although we started on CBS today, so it was a
pre-bub to post-broadcast.
Yes, it was fantastic. But if you guys want the bub with us, and we saw some of you guys post about it today, you guys are getting some of your packages in. If you guys want to get on the Bubs train a little bit easier, go to bubsnaturals.com and use the code GETWITH20 for 20% off your Bubs Naturals. And it's worth it. It's worth a try. If you're skeptical, again, we just use it. This is what our morning routine is now a part of. And I'm glad I could bring the morning routine with me to California, being from Texas. So it's been nice. It's been a nice consistency across the board. So my mornings are
it's so good. I mean, if you haven't tried it, you got to try it. If a lot of the CrossFitters seen out there is you want to go with that heavy cream. You like that creaminess in your coffee. And I that's usually my drink. Coffee, heavy cream, dark roast, heavy cream is my deal. The collagen that you put in, the protein that you put in, it mixes right in. I mean, super easy, even though you're putting 2 scoops into it.
And it's also tasteless.
Oh, man, totally. And then the MCT powder, the MCT oil powder, you put that in, and that also doesn't have a taste to it, but it definitely creams up the coffee, and it's like dessert. It's so nice. Good.
It's so good.
Nice. You got to give it a shot. Give it a shot.
It's so nice. All right. So day 2 is done. We'll recap the day. Give our thoughts on a couple different things. The day started off with us being on CBS.
Yeah.
Now you are no stranger to the CBS scene.
I've dabbled into the national television world with that a little bit.
I, however, am a rookie to the CBS scene.
You guys, and he was so nervous.
He was so nervous.
And I'm just like,
scared.
Come on, we're just gonna do what we do. And he's like, okay, you're right. But it's very similar to the first time we went on ESPN. The main ESPN, live ESPN, not the Ocho or anything like that. And we're just about ready to go, and Sean goes, literally 30 seconds before we go on live, and he goes, hey, there's going to be 1 million people watching us right now, which is not what you want to have. I didn't grow up as a broadcaster or anything. I just do my thing, and they hand you a mic and you start talking about CrossFit. So I wasn't really fired up about that, but Chase did fun. And those of you guys that heard how great he did. He did fantastic. So
I was nervous.
We were good.
Thank you. It was a blast. It was my first time on CBS, and we had 2 straight hours of live coverage of the CrossFit Games. We did the very first 2 events, and the 2 events we did were actually one of those that were a lot more fun to call than I thought they were going to be when they were first released on paper. So we'll go through those, but before we do, I want to say, see how I'm turning the mic now? Brittany, what's up? Mohammed's back. Melody, hello from New York.
Yeah, Renata's
thank you guys. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Chris.
There you go.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm not fishing for compliments.
Like
I'm just being honest with my own vulnerability. And that's real. Like every time we hop on, even when we hop on here, when we do our podcast, if I'm doing a broadcast, I'm always a little bit nervous because I respect the position that we're in. I understand the importance of the moment. I definitely don't take anything that we get to do for granted.
Totally.
Especially after last year. And I love it. I love it so much. So all of that wrapped into one does get me a little nervous. It gets me more excited. And I think it was a good day. So when we started things off, we did day 1 yesterday and we previewed this. And the big thing we had on day 1 was taking a step back from maybe what the event reads like and just letting it unfold. And when they announced this one, and this was the toes to bar lunge, I think this one got the most heat, him and Han, because like it's too easy.
Well, you can't have in the same sentence, this is going to be the toughest CrossFit ever programmed, and it's going to smash these guys that we don't even know if they can even handle it. And then you say 30, 20, 10, toes to bar and lunges. Just didn't seem like that fit anywhere in there at all.
Especially when you saw the demo video and they just absolutely demolished it. Like, what is this?
I know. It was bad.
Then when, you take the entirety of day 1 into account, and then you look at the athletes and how it shook up while the event unfolded. One, it was a very exciting race.
Yeah.
And when it was done and how things kind of went towards the end, like, so for example, go through the women. Katrin Davidsdottir came out screaming out of the gates.
Yeah.
She just won the trail one the night before. Yeah. She wanted to set the tone for day 2, and she did that. But Tia still ran her down, and Katrin, the wheels were coming off as she was crossing the finish line, which is what she wanted to do. We actually got to talk to her afterwards. She was very proud of her effort and the way she finished, but Tia just ended up getting her at the end.
Okay, well, we know that this event, it was about going super fast, and you had to open up the floodgates and give it everything you had. You just had to. She definitely sent it for sure, but just like, so even something like with France, something that's fast, there's still an element of pace to it. So Tia didn't come out guns blazing. I'll say she was running 90% and was able to continue that and build that speed as she got going, build that tempo as she got going, where Katrin came out at 100%. And at that final set of 10, that's where you, just like you said, the wheels were coming off.
The last 10 yards.
That's what you want to do, though. I mean, you want to, obviously you don't want to have it happen beforehand. You want to hit right at the finish line, and that's where the wheels come off.
Yes.
Not all the speed wobbles before that. But it was an amazing race. I mean, she did great. Both those women did great.
And to the point, so, in testing, Chandler Smith wheels actually came off because we saw him slide out and do the splits and nearly crush his legs with the kettlebell. But Brian Friend asked a good question, is, we saw some kettlebell techniques. Oh, hey, guys. Hey.
I was wondering if you old folks were going to get on here.
Sean, quiet down over there. So Sean Woodland is staying in our hotel bubble as well. And obviously he is the host with Talking Elite Fitness, as well as Tarmi Marquez. And we told him we were going to record in our hotel room. So he's screaming at us via the comments. Pipe down there. I thought there was
kids in that rock and roll music.
Someone banging on our walls. What's up, guys? Okay. So the kettlebell question from Brian Friend. If you guys watched the broadcast, we saw that there was a line that they had to start behind for the lunges and then finish behind on the lunges.
Right.
But they had to carry it to the next position underneath the rig. Usually there's like another set of kettlebells waiting for them. Well, at the very end, Katrin walked it all the way to where she would start and went back to the rig, where Tia walked him and just put him right underneath the rig. Yep. And the rules were clear. It didn't matter where you put your kettlebells down. You just had to take them to the start and finish across the other line.
And I don't know if the feed, there was some B-roll that was going on where Dave was talking to Tia as they walked out. And he said, you know, I don't know why everyone was moving their kettlebells all the way through. He goes, you're the only one that did it right. So get off, you damn old people. Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. We're going to throw rocks at your windows, Sean. That's what we're going to do. But that last rate when he said, you're the only one that did it right.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that's really, it's interesting with CrossFitters because as you said, if they don't tell you what the rules exactly are, they'll find the easiest way. And I think that what everyone was trying to do was let me prep my next movement first, rather than getting onto the bar and moving. And I think that's what Tia said. So it limited, as she said, it limited my rest, but I can pick them up right away and I can get momentum and get going. And I think that was what the difference was. And then for the men, they kind of took a hybrid. Like Matt was putting them directly under the bar.
Right.
So he would do his lunges to the line, walk under the bar, put them down, then pick them right back up and start walking again. So it was interesting to see, again, when they had their choice of how they wanted to work it, what they decided to do with that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you could see what happens. So since there's only one heat of women and one heat of men, what you would often see is when we have 4 and 4 of both men and women, you would see the evolution of the technique of the event take place. Yeah. Well, we didn't have that for the women. They just had to work it out on the fly, where you saw the men take what they saw on the women's side and modify that for their event.
And I really don't know exactly where they were being sequestered before that next. We're going to TP Sean's door. That's so awesome. I love this little side deal happening in the comments. If you guys don't see the comments, check those out while we're babbling over here too. But I think I didn't see where the men were. And there was like a 10-minute break from when they had the women go to when the men would go.
Yes.
So where were they that they would be able to see that? So I don't know if they did see it, or maybe Tia said something, and maybe that was on passing when
they do pass each other often.
So it was interesting. It was really interesting to see what they came up with on the fly.
All right. So those of you guys that are listening on the podcast, we're also on YouTube Live, and I'm going to share with you the worst way to mess with someone in different rooms of them. Now, this is a terrible thing, but I learned this in college. It's called the... I probably shouldn't share this. I'm going to share it anyways. It's at TP Sean's door. It's like, I got one better for you. This is a horrible thing to do. I do not encourage or recommend trying this. But what you do is you go to the restroom in what I would say, a saucer-like dish. Not number 1. And then you freeze it. And what you do is when it freezes, it's this very thin plate-like thing. And you just push it under their door.
Oh, and then it melts. That's brilliant.
Let it melt.
I like that.
I'm not saying I did that in college to anyone that may or may not have been on my team in college athletics, but I may have heard that as a way to mess with someone in a hotel room / dorm room.
A couple comments that are actually kind of interesting. Renata had this question. Do you know if the Athlete Federation talks were in with Dave in the program for this time? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I would assume that there would be some sort of initial communication, but I don't believe, especially with some of the secretive stuff that Dave was trying to work with here, that he would want anything like that to get out. So, I mean, when he talked about the return on that run, I mean, there wasn't anybody that knew about that. He kept that low because that would have ruined the entire thing.
So I think in terms of the programming, Dave does not discuss with anybody in terms of federation or an athlete council. That is more for kind of rules and regulations outside of the scheme of programming. When it comes to programming specifically, it's Dave's nucleus idea. He may bounce it off and use some others as soundboards. And obviously he used a lot of athletes for testing, but those federations and athlete councils have no input or anything like that on the program itself.
And I'm glad. I don't think that they should.
I don't either. I think that's a conflict of interest, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's another. I don't want to go down that path. Yeah, that'll be another show for something like that. But Renata, as far as I know, I hadn't heard anything like that. So,
and for me, so long story short, to wrap up the first event of the day, one of the most kind of meh attitudes I have when this event was announced and even saw and went through with Adrian Bosman, it was a very exciting event when it came down to the very end on both the men's and the women's side.
Yeah, and especially after having some longer events, it was really nice and exciting to have. Right. And come in today and you have a blast full of just fast, aggressive. You see people quivering and bobbling and really battling just to kind of stay in the race. So I think that it was fun, man. It was interesting, especially when you talk to the athletes afterwards, and they said,
and that was a good thing.
That was shitty painful.
It's way worse than they thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's they have done kettlebell lunges before. They've done overhead. They've done it racked. I mean, it's for the men, it's 140 pounds. For the women, it's 106 pounds. So that's a lot of weight to be front racked, single arm front racked, basically.
Yes.
And granted, it's on your shoulders, but you still have to support that how you're moving around.
We'll say shouldered.
Shouldered is that's appropriate. That's appropriate. That's a lot of weight.
It was a lot of weight, and it caused some problems. And we talked about Chandler Smith because the grass was wet, and if you're just wearing,
of course, he would be the one that does splits.
He would be, but he wasn't the only one. Haley slipped a little bit. Yeah, Carrie slipped a little bit, especially towards the end. And you got to think of what happened yesterday. That they did a blowout your posterior hill sprint. They did a max deadlift.
Yeah. And
they did that massive, brutal hill trail run.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about posterior, super fatigued, and then those heavy lunges, yesterday had an effect on how that went.
100%. The first comment when Nikki Brazier was asking Matt about, how was the grip? Was it grippy after all the grip you guys had yesterday? And the first comment he made was my hamstrings on the lunges.
Yes.
That was the first comment he made. So yeah, the posterior chain was shot. And so that event became entirely different. And for any of you guys that,
honestly,
you hear a lot of people that do the events, the single event or a single event from the games, and like, oh wow, I would have been in this, I would have done this well, or I could have placed it whatever place. It's like, man, you didn't even do the stuff building up to that, and that's part of the test.
Yeah,
are you able to handle the compilation of all that stuff on top of each other? Is a whole test in itself.
I would actually implore or encourage anyone to try that event as prescribed, and I don't think you'll beat their times.
I don't think so either.
Just try it. Just try it fresh. Save it for when you're feeling awesome, and do that event. And I feel like a lot of people are going to have a different attitude towards that event after it's done. So that's event one. Well, not event one. The first event of the day. And we talked about posterior and hamstring. So hey, let's do some really fast snatching at actually a very heavy weight, especially on the men's side. And what it was when it came out, I was like, just 3 bars. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I want to be 5, so it feels like there's more of a race, and knock one off in 3. I like that. Just like we said before, is survival, not survival the fittest, but the musical chairs.
I like the duck goose setup of that. Yeah, I honestly did.
I did too.
The fact that it was, even though the name speed was put in there, I still think it was fast. He had 1 minute to do the first round. You had 2 minutes if you made it into that round to do to the next 3 bars, and then the last 3 minutes for the last 3 bars. And I think it was okay to go heavy. It was needed to go heavy. And even though it was a speed race, just because they weren't flying through the last round doesn't mean that it wasn't a speed race at that weight. You're racing to get 285 pounds on a snatch.
Right.
Like, shit, man.
285 pounds.
Yeah.
285.
And that's in the middle of a sprint race.
Right. After what you've already done going into that.
Totally.
Question here. Bigger disappointment in the snatch, Carrie Pierce missing or Noah Olson missing?
Honestly, for me, I would have said Noah Olson. I like the race between Carrie and Katrin.
Yes.
But I think that I honestly think that Katrin should have been in that 3rd place position. I think that was her spot to have. I wasn't expecting her to do more than that. But I don't think she should have, with the ability that she has in snatch, to be less than that. Noah, I was more bummed because I know he can snatch more. And I just don't think he fought or battled correctly to get in that. You know,
he looked a little out of sorts.
Yeah, just a little bit. A little bit.
And I'll tell the same thing is I expect Katrin to be in the final 3, not Carey, just based off that. Katrin's a much better Olympic lifter than Carey is. Yeah. But as far as Noah and his skill set, the dude likes to snatch. He's good at snatch. Totally. He's hit these weights before. So I would have thought I would have seen him in there, and we didn't. So disappointment, no. Surprise, I think, is a better one to go and talk about. So that was the speed snatch ladder. That was the last event we called on CBS. Fun races.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about Adler calling a shot, but wanting to do well.
Yeah.
And we don't mean that in a sense of, I was actually really happy when he wanted to do that. I was like, good.
Well, especially coming into this, because that's that's uncharacteristic of him. He seems very, I'm not supposed to be here. And any of these athletes that get to the games, they can't, that whole thing of, well, I'm just happy to be here. Like I as an athlete, it bothers me. As a coach, it bothers me. It's like, okay, if you're here for a reason, so get aggressive and go at it. So I again, same thing. I was happy that he said that. I was bummed that it didn't turn out that way. I mean, the one that made the look was Matt. Matt looked over at him and was like, oh, okay. Boom. Even though he missed that last rep, still was able to get it up there.
Well, that's made it exciting.
With, but he wasn't really concerned. He's like, I mean, to make that lift that fast back to back.
Right.
Okay.
I was like, I don't even think I could just deadlift it that quick back to back with the drop in between.
Seriously.
So, exciting finish for the men. Tia Toomey just destroyed
my gosh.
everyone.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That's one where I think the weights could have been a little heavier.
I agree.
They were power cleaning most of the weights in the first round. Or not power cleaning, power snatching.
Well, a bit, but then again, I saw when it was being tested. And again, if you hadn't seen any of the stuff on Instagram where they show the test, you can see the level of athlete, the type of athlete, about where they're going to be, where they're going to start messing up on the lifts.
Right.
And I mean, in reality, the way it finished, it finished correctly. And the way that Tia made it through that was the exact same way that Matt made it through that.
That's a good point.
Brooks kind of right in there too. So you had two athletes that were right in the mix. The middle were struggling, and then the bottom ends, they weren't able to get through the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Wells struggled. Catton struggled to get to the last bar. Yeah. I guess I probably shouldn't judge the merit of the weight of the event with the greatest female crosser to ever walk the earth.
Well, I mean, if we had judged the test based on Matt, then everyone on the floor is terrible. And because Matt's so, head and shoulders above the rest of the field, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So that was the second event of the day. The third event, this is one I was really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And what was it called? The bike
repeats.
The bike repeats. And if you guys know your regional history, you're like, what's regionals? Oh, you must be new to the CrossFit game. Regional history. In 2014, they had an event that was 10 rounds for time, legless rope climb, and a little shuttle sprint down the competition floor. And this was a beefed up version with Trek.
They're hybrid bikes. It's like a mixed road bike, mountain bike type of thing.
And 440 meters, which when you saw it take place, it was a bike event.
Completely.
But it wasn't like a throwaway bike event. Like you had to be good on the bike. You had to understand the bike. You had to understand the importance of gears and like a lot of technical pieces, which I don't know if you've changed your mind on the technical bike part because of what you thought about the cyclocross.
Yeah, I mean, it was still there, but what I saw was that there were a lot of athletes that turned this into a single speed.
Which was a mistake.
I agree. I mean, like, if you watch it, Matt was cycling with too fast of an RPM in the middle of his run, down and back. But it allowed him to get up to speed faster and then be able to control his get off the bike faster. If you watch, this is what happened with Jeff Adler, is he had too high of a gear, so he would be too slow off the start. Once he got going, it was great, but he didn't have enough distance to catch Matt or to really put anything to him. And then he had to get off right away. So I just think that it turned into more of a single speed. So if that's going to be the case, make it a single speed.
Well,
and then you don't have to worry about that. And you know, there was some discussion about like, they aren't just workout people, they are athletes that can adapt. And I agree with that. I see gearing not so much straight down and back, because I think it's a little bit more straightforward than the cyclocross, where you you have ups and downs and turns and different things you have to ride through. So I think that's more of a gearing specialty, but it's fine. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I like the event. This was one of the best. Next to the crit, I think this was the best bike ride.
Yeah, and I'll finish a couple points on this one, and then we'll go to Chelsea's asked a couple questions about Noah. I love the event. On the women's side, it was just the Tia show once again. And on the men's side, it was actually a really fun race.
Oh, it was awesome.
It was Matt holding off two different athletes, and one athlete he wasn't expecting to.
Yeah, totally.
And in the very beginning was Matt versus Medeiros.
Yeah.
And then Medeiros just started to just lose ground to start to Adler. So Adler started to creep up in third place.
Yeah.
And then Adler, going into the 10th and final round, actually passed Matt on maybe the fastest legless rope climb since Easy Mohammedan Regionals in 2015.
He was flying.
Minus the 11-foot jump up the rope that Easy did. Yeah. His hand over hand, I mean, beat Matt off the rope, beat him to the bike, but then Matt just poured it on the last bike.
It was really fun to watch. Justin Medeiros, God, you know, I'm so glad he's there, because the best thing about him, I mean, he's a stud. I mean, they're just that's what it is for sure. But he's attacking, and he's attacking without the fear of something bad happening. He's just going for it, and so he's racing Matt. The problem is that Matt's capacity is so off the charts that if you try to run with that guy for any length of time, like he gritted and couldn't hold on to it. It's the same thing that happened on the mountain.
I was just about to say, it's funny you mentioned that because his coach told us about that with Adam Knifer.
Well, and fast story about that real quick. We're sitting down to dinner tonight. It was me and Chase and Carrie's coach and Justin's coach, Adam Knifer, and I was like, man, you know, here we are watching them, and I'm wondering if those guys were talking to each other. And Adam was like, they totally were. That whole backside, once they turned around.
You're talking about Justin and Matt.
And so they decided that they were going to hang with each other until the end. So they'd kind of, you know, kick it down a notch, and then they'd kind of go from there. And I guess Justin told Adam afterwards, he's like, yeah, so Matt kicks it down, and I'm air quoting for those of you guys that can't see this, brings it down to a comfortable pace, and Matt's just like, oh, okay, talking and chatting and being all normal, and Justin was like doing everything he could to stay with him, and it just blew him out. And that's why on that last hill, Matt just took off, because then he actually went to race speed, and Justin didn't have that. But same thing happened in the bike. Tried to hang with him, couldn't do it. Matt kind of pulled into a cruise mode. It wasn't slow. I mean, he was off the bike,
like fast, I'm in the
jumping
lead
down
mode.
the rope. Yeah, I'm winning. Like I'm beating everybody. So why crush myself? Jeff Adler was on the outside, and it was hysterical because Matt didn't know that they were on the same round.
Right.
He thought he lapped. He thought he lapped him. So all of a sudden he's up in front, and someone said, okay, you know, last lap. And that's when Matt looked over and was like, oh shit. Head goes down. He starts, you know, cranking into the bike. And, you know, like Jeff said, he's like, once he went into that gear, I couldn't even touch him. Yeah. And it was fun. That was a good race. It was a fun race.
Really fun race to watch. Okay. So that's 3 events. We have one more to get to. Let's answer a couple questions here. So let me get this name right. Charmed by Chelsea. She's asking about the Noah hype train, and can we stop hyping Noah up? And I assume that's in terms of some of the media thinking Noah was the one to challenge Matt for first place at the CrossFit Games, based off getting second last year and it being so close. For one, I love Noah. Never in a million years do I think Noah's going to go out there and beat Matt at the CrossFit Games.
No, he won't beat Matt, but out of the last 2 years, he's been the closest to him.
Right.
So you have to hype him up. Plus, in all reality, like that's when Noah thrives off of that stuff. It really does drive him. So I mean, to say that it's to not hype him up or to not say that he has a chance at it, he has the best chance at it. He's been second to Matt so many times, and usually, I mean, historically, I wouldn't say it's as much now necessarily, but historically, he will go so hard that he'll implode rather than not pushing. I think that maybe it's an age thing, but he's brought it back so that it doesn't implode. Mm-hmm. But that's been the issue, is that now he's not over attacking. Right. He's under attacking, trying to conserve or something. That's what it looks like. For
this year.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it too is like, one, Noah had a good start and then Matt lost points off a sandbag. So that's why it was so close then. But then when you become in striking distance and the things you're doing are working, which is, we saw that from Noah, winning Mary, closing the gap, being in the lead, there's something to say for momentum, especially when you are the underdog. And being someone like Noah, who has never really put it all together at the CrossFit Games, which is why he had never podiumed, which is also why he had never won an event until Mary. Took him since 2014. Took him 5 years to win his first Games event. It was always due to some weird mental error where he went out too fast or he blew up and got a last place. So what we saw from Noah is like maybe he finally got it all together, but part of that was in fact of being in front of a crowd that was pulling for him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No crowds here. Having his family there inspiring him, not allowed here. And the fact that Noah seems a bit out of sorts. And when that happens, the problem is that he needs a group around him to keep funneling his focus and attention to what he's trying to do. And I'm starting to see he's unraveling a little bit, which might be that conservative part that you're seeing that we didn't see last year. But in terms of the hype train, it's like Noah has gotten second to him in multiple iterations of competition in the last year. So Noah's in a position to be next to Matt. So I think it's fair to talk him up, and I think you should give him the credit that he's due. He's a veteran in the sport, and he's one of the best in the sport right now.
Well, and also I think an easy comparison would be, was Scott Panchik overhyped compared to Rich Froning? Was he going to beat Rich Froning? No, he wasn't going to beat Rich Froning, but he was in the top 6 all the years that he competed. Look at Noah's placing. Yeah, Noah has always placed well.
Yes,
I mean, and I don't mean like, oh, he's been in the top 15 or the top 10, like like 6th, within the top 6.
Yes,
multiple years.
Yes.
Just barely makes it on the podium, misses getting the podium, is on the podium. How can you not hype him up? How can you not say that he's as good as he is? No, yes, and I think that the implosion part and the, having something stupid always happen or whatever like that, it's an easy historical thing to say. But if you look at the finishes, it's not like he's doing bad. Even, I mean, he's been up in second place. He's been down in fifth place. Of course, every other guy except Matt has been in all of those places as well. So it's really hard. It's really hard to say that. I still think he's a decent athlete to be hyping in the event.
And if he gets it all together, again, that's the frustrating thing. It's like he always has a little thing. It's like, gosh, if you just got rid of those, it could be so much closer. So in first, the hype train is like, I think that it might be hyped up in other places, but as far as how we see it, like Noah's earned the right to be in the discussion.
Totally.
But I mean, for me personally, no way do I think.
Well, yeah, but
there was a danger.
Nobody is.
But nobody is, right.
Nobody is. Just like with Rich, nobody was going to touch him either.
And then one more before we get into the last event, and then we'll get to Brian's question, do we think the weights seem drastically different than years past on the men's and the women's side? And I will say it appears that way on paper, especially if you do the math.
Oh, yeah, you should have been here yesterday, Brian. You should have been here yesterday.
But what we wanted, and we've made this point before, is that the testing is dictating the weights that they're using. And so Dave has brought out, who did he bring out? Christy Aramo, Alessandra Pacelli, Allison Scudds, Danielle Brandon. We're talking
Nisler.
Andrea Nisler. These bad ass athletes on the women's side. And they have determined the weights for the women. And the same thing on the men's side. We bring in Jason Carroll, Chandler Smith, Saxon Panchek, Brandon Luckett. Who else did he have out there? Cowboy. Sean Sweeney.
Oh, Sean Sweeney, yeah.
Right? All these weights are being decided by the athletes taking the test. So some of the weights may seem more distance than, say, like your classic 70 to 80% that you might see on like a .com workout or anything like that. But these events, these movements and these weights and the way they're all set up is dictated by the people taking the test and training and testing these events. So if you watched the event yesterday, so the classic example, and we made a bit of a stink of this before it went down, was 2007 Reloaded. They used 235 pounds for the men. They only used 145 pounds for the women, which was the same weight they used for heavy DT for the women, but the men were at 205.
Right.
So how did that weight not increase when you did heavy DT, which has 5 rounds of 6 shoulder to overheads?
Yeah.
And this was 5 rounds of 7. Well, once that event went down, I was like, yep, that was the appropriate weight discrepancy for both the men and the women. So some of them, based off how you read, yes, they seem different. But in terms of the appropriate weight, from what we've seen so far go down, I feel like they've all been appropriate.
Real fast, Tanya Wagner.
Is Tanya on?
Is on here with us.
Hey, Tanya.
This CrossFit mom herself. And I would need to know, you just have to put a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you have your cider with you right now? Are you drinking with us?
I wish I could hear you say the word cider. Or you're drinking water.
Cider. Water.
I can't say it. I can't even fake it.
I can't do that either.
Love you, Tanya. All right, so let's get into the fourth and final event of the day. They had 3 events at the complex here in Morgan Hills, and they went back to the ranch for an unknown event, which Dave briefed on site. Thumbs up? Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thumbs up from Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya.
Got my cider. That was a New York accent. I don't know how to do a Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. I don't know. I tried. Okay, moving on. And so what this was Happy Star. And what Happy Star was 4 rounds for time, 4 different trail runs up and down into an ascending 5, 7, 9, 11 burpees over a beam and thrusters, and the weight went up every time. When we first saw this, we were like, runs. It's about the runs. And it's not necessarily about winning the runs, but you can't pace the runs. You have to have a strong run every single time. And we saw that unfold as the event took place. And obviously, once everybody got to the last bar, the weights went up every rep or every set. So the last bar was naturally harder because it had the most reps and the most weight. And Brian's question was, we talked about the runs being the important part. Should they have focused more on the last bar? And I said the last bar looked like it was more important because they were just, it's the very end.
It is, right? But where'd that come from, though?
But because of the runs.
It came from the effects of the run.
And where did Tia beat Brooke towards the end? On the runs.
Yeah.
And then through the burpees. Right? Where did Matt crush everybody? On the runs. And through the burpees. And then he just not casually went unbroken on everything else. But if you watch Tia and you watch Matt, they had little to no issues with the last bar. If you listen to them, they're working their asses off.
Oh, a ton of, yeah. Totally.
They're not just out there doing air squats and empty hands over their head, which is kind of neat to hear.
Yeah.
But you're not going to win this event on the thrusters alone because you have so much more time to lose on the runs. The runs took the longest. It was the longest part of the entire event, which means they were the most important piece of this.
And I think what's interesting is the athletes that tried to win on the runs.
That's what we're not telling them to do.
Right. Exactly. And that's it. The run is important, very important. And if you watch that race between Brooke and Tia, Brooke, I was impressed with Brooke. I mean, I hadn't seen
think I know
her
where you're going, and
throw
I like
a punch. I haven't seen her throw a punch and go for it the way she did in a while, in a non-barbell-ish type of an event. She went for it, and Tia just hung with her on the run. So she never over extended herself on the run, which I think is where that win came from. And Brooke tried so hard on the run that she was smoked by the time she got to the other stuff. So when they got to that last round, Tia still had gas. Brooke was dusted.
Because Tia had strong runs. But Brooke was trying to win the runs.
Exactly.
And that's where is the delineation between overemphasizing the runs. And using the runs.
That's when you say it's important, not important to win, but important on how you use the run.
Yeah.
To your advantage. I mean, honestly.
That's a great question. Thanks for making us talk some more.
There you go.
Let's see. It appears Matt and Tia were the only ones not affected by the thrust. Yeah, it did look like that. And then it continues to me. Matt and Tia, they just seem to get better and better and better. Yes. I don't know how. And I don't know. Well, I know why, because they work their effing asses off all year round. But it does still amaze me.
Look, and we were having
how good they are and continue to get better.
Okay. We were having this discussion after tonight's events.
I'm opening my second beer.
Okay, I am too. After the last event, we're all sitting down eating dinner. Yes. We're out there with our producer, and he asked that question. He's like, how is it possible that Matt and Tia, you put her in the same place, are that much better? And I think it comes down to this. The special ones out there, they're meant to be that special person. And this is not to say that they are the only ones that work out hard. These are the only ones that train hard. These are the only ones that have mental toughness. Right. That's not the case. Not everyone is supposed to be the best of the best of the best of the best. If you look at any sport,
right,
you'll see that, where it's like, what universe did this athlete come from? They're not even in the same realm as everyone else that they're competing against. And that's in every sport.
Right.
But that goes through waves. We never thought we'd see a Rich Froning.
Another one.
Yeah. Ever. Now it's like, I mean, Rich was amazing. And this is nothing against Rich. Rich was, absolutely amazing. But are we ever going to see another Matt? I mean, it's easy to say it's impossible, but there always ends up being another one, So how are they so much better? It's because they have that extra, they have that gift on top of all the other stuff that they do on top of that.
You're watching a generational talent between Matt Fraser and Tia Toomey. There's a reason why we still talk about Muhammad Ali to this day. And argue about who would be good or not, or who could take them, even nowadays. There's a reason why we talk about the Michael Phelpses or the Katie Ledeckis and, or the Michael Johnsons. And I think to your point,
Usain Bolt, pick one.
The Usain Bolt, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, like any superstar in their sport, male, female, are generational talents. What we are witnessing right now, and what you guys should, if you think it's over and it's boring, just make sure you watch tomorrow, because you guys are witnessing the greatest generational talent for both the men and the women happening at the exact same time, which is unparalleled that we have ever seen. So if I wish I watched Michael Jordan in his prime. Well, then you better tune in and watch Matt Fraser and Tia Toomey destroy everyone tomorrow. As boring as you may think it is, and you might hate dynasties, which me and Bill kind of go back and forth on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I wish I could have watched Muhammad Ali box in his prime. I had Mike Tyson, But if you guys want to be able to talk about this later, I remember when, then make sure you tune in and not tune out, because it's not boring per se, and maybe in terms of the leaderboard and drama. But if you want to be able to watch something that we may never see again, we've been spoiled. We've been absolutely spoiled, because we had Rich Froning, Ben Smith, and then this domination of Matt Fraser. On the women's side, we've had the Annie Thoris daughters and the Katrin David's daughters, and now the Tia Claire Toomeys. There's
the Tanya
Wagners, right? There's no guarantee that we'll ever see anything like this again. And who knows how long it will go, but you don't want to miss it.
Well, here's what I say. I think it's very cool to say that it's something that we won't see. I don't want to say never again. I would say in a long time. I mean, we talk about the greats of the great. What I would say is not that you won't see this ever again, but you'll be able to hang out on your 75th birthday when they see some hologram reruns of old sports stuff, and they'll be like, and there was once this guy, Matt Froning and Tia Claire Toomey, that trained together, and they dominated the sport of fitness. They were the fittest athletes on the planet. You guys get to see that firsthand, which I think is amazing. Now, one of the things you guys are starting to ask here, and we got to get to this question, I think.
What? I didn't see it.
Well, there's a handful of, I think Jason has thrown this out, and Brian's kind of jumping in there too, about would it be different if there were some other athletes in there, maybe 20, maybe 10, getting some specialists in there.
Yeah.
Because that's how good Matt and Tia are, is that they have to be beat by a specialist. Here, my response to that is this. Yes, if you have more people in there, you're going to have some jostling, and maybe the
points would be different.
The points would obviously be different. But here's the thing. The level of athletes that these guys are, a specialist isn't going to make it anymore.
No.
It used to be that you could be a really, really, really good gymnast and not necessarily have the other stuff, and you can make it in. Or you'd be really, really good weightlifter and not have the gymnastics in, but you can still make it in. That's not the case anymore. So
yes,
I don't think you're going to get someone, I don't think you're going to get anyone that's going to be that much of a specialist that they're going to be able to come in and still make it against all these other athletes. I just don't see it happening.
I think it's a very good point, because yes, is a Olympic lifting specialist going to beat Matt in a snatch speed ladder?
Sure.
Yeah, probably, but they ain't qualifying for the CrossFit
never going to
games.
qualify.
And so, yeah, would it be more exciting to see 20 people? Of course, but like that's not even a realm of possibility.
No.
But in theoretical, say there's 20 people and 20 people. Matt and Tia might not be winning every single event out there, but from what I've seen, and you're like, oh, it's so boring. Yeah, it's boring with some of the best people that has ever done this sport.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. Of all time. They might not have like the fancy names like a Vellner or Fikowski or Sigmund's daughter Saunders, but they're it's still David's daughter and Wells and Pierce and Adams and Medeiros.
And the fact is, those other guys got beat.
Not beat. They
didn't make it.
They're getting just, the ones we were talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying is like, it would take someone so specialized to beat Matt and Tia that they would be too specialized to qualify for the CrossFit Games anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not in this day and age.
I agree.
So yeah, would the points be different?
Totally.
Would they have 7 first places of the 9 events? Probably not.
Okay, you could say that, but realistically, instead of having 7 of the 9, they would have 5 of the 9 or 4 of the 9.
I'm not even comfortable saying that. I would say maybe they would.
That's what I'm saying. You can go back to the last couple of years and look at the numbers that were put up with 40 people in. That one year, Matt had 7 first places. And the next time he had 9 seconds or something like that.
So let's use this as an example. Let's go to stage 1. Stage 1 had 4 classic CrossFit events and
30 athletes.
30 athletes, the 30 best in the world, including all your fan favorite names.
All of them.
4 CrossFit workouts, 3 single modality specialist events. Matt Fraser won every single CrossFit event.
Yep.
So did Tia Toomey. Say for one?
Yeah.
Say for one event?
Yep.
Which one was it? I can't remember. Is it Nasty Nancy? Because Katrin won that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Right. Tia lost to one of the best female CrossFitters to ever step on the competition floor. Right now, in the single modalities, that's when they lost. Sorry, Matt didn't have the fastest 1,000 meter in the world. What am I trying to say? Time in the world.
Yep.
Because some crazy ass Russian rode one of the fastest 1,000 meters I've ever seen in my life with a 2:48, but he still got 4th with like a 2:54.
Yeah,
it's insane. He didn't have the best handstand hold in the wild because that's a pretty niche specialized event, but he got 2nd. Didn't he? Did he got 2nd?
I would. Yeah, no, he did
2nd.
So even in those events, even if you were to look at that, and he didn't have all first across the board, and let's say it's all second.
Right,
to say that it's not a massive sweep of the competition we've already basically, by definition it's not true, but by actuality it's true.
Yeah, we've already tested them against 30 people. and Matt won 4 of them and got second in 1, and he lost the front squat from some dude because he front squatted 490 pounds.
That's not to say that I think that we should constantly go to from the 30 to the 5. I personally, I don't like only having 5, but this is because of the situation that we're in. It could have been that there were no one coming here, and
we could have nothing. We could have nothing to talk about right now.
Then we would just be alcoholics, just drinking for no reason. But I think that that's important. I mean, it's not an asterisk year because there's only 5. The test is the test. The people that made it were the ones that qualified into that spot. Is it perfect? Is it 100% perfect? No, but never any year is it 100% perfect. But it's pretty damn close. And I mean, the dominance is the dominance for a reason. It would be, I honestly believe it would be the same whether it's 5 or whether it's 30.
I have no doubt in my mind that we would have the same outcome. Whether it was 100, 100 people might be different because you would have some specialists.
What's Tanya saying? Hold on. What's Tanya saying here? Multiple heats would force Matt and Tia to push more in their heats, knowing they're competing against other heat times. I mean, yes, there would be more people to push. And if there's only one heat, you only have to worry about the people that you have.
I don't know how much harder they could push than they already did this weekend.
They could. I mean, and we had this discussion earlier as well. Matt's comment about stage 1 was the hardest he'd ever pushed because he had no idea where anybody else was. So Tanya, yes, they would push harder, totally, because we've had it multiple times where someone in the first heat gets the best time and blows away everyone in the 4th heat.
Yep.
It happens. It totally does. That doesn't mean to say that there wouldn't be a domination. And guess what? If there was 10 people, it would still only be 1 heat. So I don't know. But I agree with you, Tommy. They would definitely push harder. But geez, man, could you imagine seeing Matt or Tia push harder? Like, I don't even know what the heck that even looks like.
I can't. Hey, who knows? Maybe next year. Okay, so that was the 4 events we had today. Usually our previews would be a lot longer for the next day, but we only know what one of the events actually are.
I know.
What we do know is that there's going to be 3.
Yep.
Originally, there was 2 on the schedule. We just got announced that there will be a 3rd, which will happen before the one we know. The only one we know is the sled sprint.
Yep.
100-yard sprint, 100-yard sled push, 100-yard sprint.
Yep. Same weight, same style of sled that they had the last time. So I don't like the fact that it's being touted as it's here because there was discussion about it before. I just say go ahead and put something ugly in there and let them run and blow their legs off. And that I'd rather go with that one. But it's gonna be an ugly one. There's gonna be Bambi legs after this one. I'm stoked on it. And I know Tanya's stoked on this too because she loves watching them just watch.
As motherly and sweet as Tanya
CrossFit
is.
Mom just wants everyone's legs to fall off.
Behind the scenes, she sees people in pain. She's like, good. Good. So we don't know what the first event's going to be tomorrow. And we don't know what the last event's going to be tomorrow or where either one of them is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be at Morgan Hills. We don't know what's going to be at the ranch. The only thing we know is that the middle one will be at Morgan Hills. Now, as far as at Atalanta being the final name, I'm not even going to speculate because I'd throw myself in a tizzy in every open. Is like, what does this fire hydrant mean for open workout 20.4? I don't know. And every time I guess, I sound more stupid than the next time I guess. So I'm just going to guess that it's going to be based off what we've seen and based off the billing that this is going to be the hardest CrossFit Games ever. I'm assuming whatever the first event's going to be and whatever the last event's going to be is going to be gross. Because most of the ones that we haven't seen yet, for example, we didn't know if the end all be all was going to be for the trail run. That had a pretty nasty twist in it. We didn't know what the event was going to be this afternoon. Oh, just do 4 hill sprints that they used as a single event in 2009 and throw in some burpees and thrusters. Terrible.
Every event they've had when they've been at the ranch has just been disgusting.
Yeah. And again, so if any of these are going to be at the ranch tomorrow, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. I hope it's both. The worse, the better. Tanya's with me. The worse, the better. But, what do I think is going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. What I'm going to look forward to is this. I want to see if Matt can keep winning because we might as well. We've come to this point. But I want to see if anybody disrupts his no-hitter. It kind of happened in the total. We're not going to belabor what happened there.
Yeah.
No need. He got a second place by 7 pounds. But right now he's 4 for 4 on Saturday. T is 4 for 4 on Saturday.
Yeah.
On the women's side, we have an American female drought since 2014 in Julie Fouché. Who is it going to be? Because if right now nobody's established themselves that they're going to be the front runner for that.
Yeah.
And that's assuming that Katrin doesn't fall out of the top 3 and 2 get in.
I know.
Because it's been a roller coaster. 2 through 5 has been absolutely crazy. If you guys need to pay attention to 2 through 5, because this matters. It's the podium. You get a medal for getting in the top 3 at the CrossFit Games, for crying out loud. There is a amazing race on both the men and the women's side for that.
It's identical. You have your number 1 spot basically tied up, and then 2nd through 5th is flip-flopping basically every single event. It changes, and it changes drastically, so that the way the points are for those athletes, no one's able to get a leg up. You get up there, and then you get knocked back down, and someone else gets up there, they get knocked back down. So everyone is just doing this. And I know that we are going to try to put together some sort of a graphic for tomorrow's broadcast showing where everybody is and how everyone bounces up and down between 2nd, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2nd, Of course, leaving them first out there.
That's right. Chelsea said swimming. Maybe. We saw a picture from Dave of Aramo diving into a pool.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Brooke Wells right away saw that, and she started doing some training stuff in the water. So, I mean, I don't think we've had a games without a swim. No. Other than the first couple.
Other than the first couple, yes.
Yeah, we've had a swim every time.
Yeah.
I would assume so.
Most of his clues have kind of been paid off so far.
Yeah, I mean, I would be hard pressed to say that there isn't one. So
yeah. So what's going to happen tomorrow? We don't know. We are excited. We hope everybody watches because, again, we said before is like enjoy and bask in the greatness of generational dominance.
Yeah.
The single greatest dominance of any CrossFit Games ever. Tune in for that. Enjoy that. Don't say it's boring. Oh, we already know who's going to win. Who gives a shit? Like, sit back and just soak in the greatest 2 male and female CrossFit athletes ever. Enjoy that. And then tomorrow, enjoy the amazing competition we have for the podium. 2nd and 3rd is safe for no one.
And I'll be the first to say, like, I hate seeing athletes shoot for 2nd place. I can't stand that. But Matt and T are just they're out there. I want people to take a shot at them for sure, because that's as a competitor, that's what I want to see. I get angry when people don't, but they're almost off the map. They're in their own category, their own competition. So now it's that 2nd to 5th place, and people have to be really attacking and pushing for that particular the high points on that. They have to.
More. Well, and one more question. Brian asked: more likely to get on the podium, Adler or Quant?
Adler.
Ooh, yeah. Now, if Quant attacks tomorrow like he did on the last event today, I would say Quant. But that was the first time we really saw him let it out there.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm excited. There's amazing things to watch. It is the last day of the CrossFit Games. We hope you guys have enjoyed the coverage. We hope you guys have enjoyed our behind-the-scenes work. And I just want to thank all of you guys for joining us tonight. We're going to, I tell you what, we'll stop the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll stick around and answer some questions for you guys if you guys want to stick around for that. We'll do a little YouTube chill.
There you go.
Until our beers are gone.
Yeah, because I got a lot left.
Yeah, we were talking way too much. I still have like a whole one. Yeah. So we'll stick around on YouTube. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, thank you for listening. Tune in tomorrow for the final day of competition here at the 2020 Reebok CrossFit Games. Bill.
Chase.
See you in the morning.
Bye. there's still almost 70 of you guys hanging out with us right now. You
guys are crazy.
Look at you guys.
We're really not worth sitting around talking to.
Hey, real fast. One of the coolest events that I saw on there, and I think I've seen something like this, swimming and pegboards.
Swimming and pegboards?
Yeah, that should be the swimming event.
Oh.
There was an event in a competition in Southern California called the Frogman. And they would do swimming. They would actually have like swimming where you had to.
Thank you, Andrew.
do muscle ups out of the water or rope climbs out of the water. It was pretty sick how they would do stuff like that. I would like that. That would suck for these. I would say don't do that in the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, I vote you guys always. Air drum in the beginning of the hey, we really do. We really do.
Maybe.
Really, God, look how sunburned I got today. Holy shit. Oh well.
You know, I got three comments to me about like, hey, Bill, nice tan.
Well,
I'm starting to feel like that old crusty leathery dude on the beach.
You're from California.
Okay.
You're also Italian.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You're standing next to me.
And you make me look really tan.
I mean, look at that. Oh, Tanya. We're staying for yeah. We're here for the air drums. Will Adams podium. Where is she right now? Let me look.
I mean, I tell you what, she has got the opportunity to podium for sure.
She does, but I think I heard that she's dealing with some
okay, now
stuff.
We saw an ankle twist on the corn sack race. That started it. We saw something coming down the big run. Saw her ankles all taped up.
We saw it today on the 4-star. She
saw it and then saw it on that one as well. So I think that like I mean, can't she? It depends what the events are.
Okay,
on sprint, that'll be tough.
We have 3 events tomorrow that we know of. David Zotter's in second at 480, 25 points ahead of Carrie Pierce. By the way, 25 points is the point differential between place finishing from second, third to fourth.
Yeah.
And then once you get to fifth, it's 20 points. Haley Adams is at 415, so she's only 65 out from Catherine.
Catherine, no, he doesn't have a fever. But thanks for the open mic comment.
Yes, okay, so the mics are open. And they're very sensitive. So what happens is we broadcast and we're sitting at a table. We take our headsets off. We put them away from us. But they're picking up our conversations.
Yeah.
Which we are supposed to be wary of. We just get so excited after events. We just want to keep talking about them. So
I know. And Jason, yes, that is my brother playing all that stuff. So he does the entire thing for the theme song.
Go check out James Grunler. He just released a new single.
Yeah, check it out. It's good stuff.
It's actually really good. I texted him today. It was really good.
It's pretty badass.
And he does it all of it.
He's like Prince style. Like he plays all of it. Does all of it.
Damon Perich. Haley sprained her ankle at Legends of the Falls race. Well, that probably okay.
Well,
hey, you know who won't? I mean, something seems to be like she's had some rough downhills, and maybe it's because of the ankle. It looks like she jammed something up.
Yeah.
But she has never once talked about it.
Nope.
Made an excuse for it. And it's freaking badass, especially for a 19-year-old. You know how much I would be bitching and moaning about a sprained ankle coming into the cross? Oh my God, help me. I need a wheelchair.
Hey, what is you guys with the message retracted? I've never seen anyone do that before. Are you guys afraid to put up your message? What happened there, Andrew?
Maybe there's spelling errors
Jacqueline?
like me every time I send a text message.
Just make it. You can unspell it. It's okay. Don't be afraid.
George Hamilton. Let's see. Brian, more likely to sing ring muscle ups or pegboard tomorrow? Well, that's a good question.
Would you rather see or would
more likely to? Based off the rigs that we've seen out there, I mean, they didn't do ring muscle ups. I would say pegboard because they did bar muscle ups in event 1. But that's just me.
No,
maybe because I'd rather see pegboards.
Maybe. I mean, I think I would go the opposite. I think I would go ring muscle ups, but I mean, from what I've seen, I haven't seen really that for any of that. But I would think the rings would be the more of a better choice.
I don't think Bill was doing the mouth warm ups. I think Sean is the one that does that.
Well, but I do some singing. Someone heard me singing earlier when I was.
Yeah, that is Bill.
You know what it is when I have my microphone on, it just sounds cool in my ears. So I start singing to myself. That's kind of silly.
Total number of games wins for Matt and Tia. You mean right now or projected?
Yeah, totally.
Because right now I think it's 28 and 25 or 28 and 24 versus Matt and Tia. Let's see. What did I say? I said,
oh yeah,
Chase has a fever.
I saw the post. I saw it.
And then only has more cowbell. Oh, I know. Oh, they're editing. Oh, thank you, Catherine. Sergio, what happened with Medeiros in event 9? I will tell you what. He was keeled over going up that last hill. Look. This has been a very tough CrossFit Games, and the dude just raced Matt Fraser through the mountains for an hour the day before. I think he's kind of over the hill runs at this point. And I said this on the broadcast, is that certain venues at the CrossFit Games start to elicit certain responses in your body just subconsciously. For example, in a positive light, the tennis stadium in Carson, California almost made people feel invincible.
Oh, yeah.
The same thing in the Coliseum in Madison. But the problem is at the ranch, they've done so many devastating events at the ranch
that you might feel like you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you feel the opposite, right? You know that walking onto the grounds at the ranch, you're about to get wrecked. And if you have any hint that that's coming or creeping on you, if you don't have your mind right, that could play a big impact on how everyone feels a certain way physically, but can you get past that crap? And I think event 9 on that last run got Medeiros a little bit. And the guy's a rookie.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's a rookie.
You have to give that kid a ton of credit. The fact that he is just pushing the way he is. And I think he's kind of, okay, this is very similar to how Noah was when Noah was a rookie. And if you remember, when Noah was a rookie, he wore the leader's jersey for some amount of time. He was in the lead as a rookie. Yes. Why? Because he rode the wheels off the car every single time. One of the comments I remember making with him way back when was, he doesn't even know it's supposed to hurt yet. And by the time it does, he's so far in the pain cave, he can't get out. That's that implosion. I think that's where Justin is right now. He has more of a capacity, I think, than Noah does on some of like these really painful, ugly events. And he goes and just buries himself. But I think right now, like we said, he's dealing with some of the compilation of the weekend building into that event today.
I'll answer 2 questions. So Jeremiah asks, how many do we think we will win? Now, Sean Woodland has said this a lot. Matt and Tia will win as many as they want to.
Yep. Till they're done.
And, Dave says father time. Yes, that's a reality of the situation. But as far as Matt looks better than he ever has. Tia looks better than she ever has. So, and relative to the field they're competing against, they'll win as many as you want to. It's a punt question, and Sean Woodland says it all the time, but I agree. Josh Wells, do you think these games are living up to the hype that Dave said the hardest ever? It's not over yet.
It's not over yet, guys.
It's not over yet, but these games have been tough. I think the hardest CrossFit Games I've seen was 2015 with the Murph, the pegboards, the clean and jerks. Like, that was a brutal game. When he looked at the athletes after the end of the weekend, I was like, there was a lot of short events in there.
Yeah.
But how everything was stacked up, heavy DT. In my opinion, the 2015 games are the hardest games I've seen based off what I saw from the athletes when it was all over.
Right.
So relative to this, I think we are close. However, we still have whatever the 3 events are going to be tomorrow, but they've been challenging. But I would say right now, no.
Well, and again, you have to make it the entire set.
But I think it's unfair to answer that question right now.
It's kind of a weird. It's not an incorrect question. I think it's a totally appropriate question, but it's a tough one to give because of the way that this games is set up. It's 12 or it's however many events they said that it's going to be 12 events. I think is what Sean was saying. This is the second half of the games. We still had the 7 events before that. So you have to kind of put them all together. It's hard. No, you have to. You have to. It's still part of the game. Now, I know that there was that break in between, but you can't
say break. It was a month.
Still, that was part of the games. It wasn't that wasn't regionals.
I will not agree with that at all.
That's fine, but it's like if you're looking at if you're calling the games, that's what you have to look at the games. Didn't say
I'll let you take that ball and run with it. I'm fine. Not even.
That's fine.
It's not the same thing.
That's fine.
To me.
I will say that the first day that we've had here, I think has been the toughest day.
Yes.
So, and if that being the case, we have 3 days. We have one that we've already said is the toughest day. One that I wouldn't say today was that tough, but it was definitely, you felt the effects of yesterday. So we have one more day to see if it's going to be able to make the toughest day. I think it's very hard to say a 3-day competition is going to be the hardest day over a 5-day competition, but we don't know what's in store for tomorrow.
You know what I'll say? And no one can agree with this. I think the trail run they did was the hardest event ever programmed. For all the possibilities and reasons include the physical test, the time of day at which it was done, the twist, everything. I think that was one of the most brutal events they've done. Marathon Row was super long. Murph wrecked people.
And the heat of Murph.
The heat of Murph, but I think...
I don't think so. I don't think so.
What would be yours?
I mean, if we're looking at devastation of people afterwards, I mean, you could say the Pendleton run, Pendleton 1, Pendleton 2, which is very similar to that.
I might take it back.
You can say the Murph done in the middle of the day with all the heat. Like if you're going to add the variables to it, it's hard. I liked what
I might go Pendleton.
Yeah.
I'll go with you.
That was an ugly one.
Actually, you know what?
That was an ugly one.
It's close, but I'll go with you. I'll go with the Pendleton Triathlon as the hardest one.
Okay. And I think that was a tough one. I think that
obviously this is a very subjective conversation.
100%. Well, and we'll get to the programming part because I think that like when we do the analyzing of the entire games, I think that there was an intent that would have made the event, the run, way harder if it was done a different way. To make everyone experience the same effect rather than some more than others. So I like what the idea of it was written on paper. I thought it was amazing.
Top
on paper.
3.
Yeah. It's grinding. It was ugly.
It was ugly. It was just dirty.
Yeah.
It was dirty.
Literally dirty. Literally.
Oh, let's see. Do we think there'll be any more surprises from Dave Castro? Well, I'm not going to say no.
It is 2020. Castro. It is 2020.
It's 2020. It's Dave Castro. We're at the ranch. Who freaking knows?
Who freaking knows?
Possibly. I know if I was an athlete, I would never trust Dave. I don't trust Dave Castro to begin with because he's so calculated and I don't trust him. I love him to death, but I've got one eye on him at all times when he's within like 20 yards of me.
Now, man.
Let's see. Anything else? Matt and Tia skewing people's thoughts on the toughness. Sure. Yeah. The way Matt and Tia crushing the weekend, skewing people's opinions on the toughness of the weekend. I think that's a very valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example,
if you took them out, what would it look like?
So let's take your Medeiros story with Matt Fraser.
Sure.
For example, the trail run, if you guys weren't here earlier, we were talking to Medeiros' coach about the trail run, and him and Matt crossed 1-2 at the halfway point, and then Dave said, go back up. And they ran together for probably 95% on the way back. And it just looked like they were keeping pace and talking to each other and pacing around. Well, we talked to his coach, and Matt was like, yeah, I'll hang back and chill and run. And Medeiros was like, cool. Well, what Medeiros didn't say to Matt, that Matt's chill, casual talking pace was like the hardest thing he's ever done in his life to try to stay at Matt's casual pace. So, yes. So, are they making it look like not the hardest test? Yes, they are. Should that discredit the test itself? No, it shouldn't, because you can't game plan for these two anymore.
No, if you take those two out, imagine the excitement of every single event when everyone is just crushing themselves as they go. If we were to picture our athletes, the 5 that we have, whoever else is in there, take Matt and T out and bring the next person in, bring Chandler Smith in, and who's the next one? Danielle? Who is 6?
For what?
For the women.
Kristen
Holta. That's right. Bring them in. I would tell you right now that top 5 leaderboard would be flipping just like it is now on every single event.
I agree.
Which would make everyone go, oh my gosh, this is the hardest thing ever. And these guys are just crushing themselves.
Tanya agrees about Pendleton.
Yeah, Tanya.
All right, Janelle. That's a fair question. So I think, the event wins that they're racking up at the games right now. Do you feel like that there should be an asterisk if you're talking about who has the most event wins in any single games?
No, I don't. Again,
I can see why.
No, I understand why. In fact, I was having a conversation on Instagram, this very same thing.
Oh yeah, you were.
If you were to pick your top 5, people making it in, you'd have on the guy side. Let's go there. With Matt, BKG, Pat, Brent, Hoegberg, and then you get, add one of the guys from here. Maybe you put Noah in there, or you put Medeiros in there, or whatever. Then it's like an all-star what-if competition rather than all of those athletes had the opportunity to compete and make it through, and they didn't qualify. That's like saying that 2019 should be an asterisk because there were all those athletes that got knocked out up to the top 10. I don't – if you're going to say an asterisk anytime there's cuts because it was unfair because someone would have done really, really well up in that last event, then it doesn't count. And you can't play the game that way. Yes, this is a different year, but is the test – fair? I think that the test is fair, and I think that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is showcasing the best in the world. Again, I think with Matt and Tia where they are, if you put some of those other athletes in there, would it knock maybe some of these guys that are in the top 5 down on some of those spots and some of those certain events? Yeah, maybe, but I don't think it's going to take away that many wins from Matt and Tia. I mean, a handful, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm going to say that some of those guys some of those men and women might win.
Yeah.
But that's not going to mean that all of a sudden they're going to be rolling down all the time.
So, and let's take that and go back to my original stage 1 comparison.
Yeah.
Is they won 4 of the 7 events, and the only ones that they lost were specialized ones. Now, Tia won 1 of them, the front squat, but she lost the handstand walk. And what was the one? Oh, the Nasty Nancy one.
Yeah.
Right. So you had your 30 and 30. They still went 4 for 7, which counts, right? They still went 4 for 7 against a bigger field with 3 single modality niche events, and they only got the worst, maybe 6th place in total. And so when you come here, I'm with you. I'm not going to give an asterisk partly because the way they're winning these events. It's not like, oh, we just squeezed it out. It's like they're absolutely just blowing the doors. Matt and Tia, here's the thing. And maybe we'll probably end on this one. Matt and Tia, and we've never seen this before. We've seen great athletes fight for the finishes and fight for their wins. And we haven't to see Rich fight for his wins towards the later half of his career. Matt and Tia are making the best CrossFitters in the world look like they don't belong there.
Yes.
They are making us ask the questions, should there be an asterisk for the win? Is this the hardest games we've ever seen? Are these the right 5 that should have made the finals? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. And they're making them look like they don't belong on the same competition floor as them. That's how good they are. So no, I will not put an asterisk because they are kicking everyone's ass in a way we've never seen at the CrossFit Games, which makes us ask these questions. I think it's a completely fair question to ask. Just like, is this the hardest games ever, or should other people have been there? But let's give the credit to where credit is due, is that we're comparing these things to the greatest athletes to ever step onto the competition floor. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. So we have to ask these questions, and we should. And that's my opinion when I look at it. That's when you really want to step back and look at it.
Yeah, no, and I 100% agree with that. You can't because they're so good doesn't mean that the other athletes are so bad. They're just that much better. That's just how that's absurd. Sport.
It's crazy.
That's what sport is. I mean,
it's mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling.
When your head's all trapped in a bottle.
That's mind-boggling.
Have you guys seen Blades of Glory? I hope so, because that would sound really stupid if you didn't. All right. Hey, guys, thanks for sticking with us. Nobody left.
I know. So we've been up and down 75, I think, at one point. You guys are awesome.
Now, we'll let you know. We're not going to do this tomorrow because it'll be the end of the day, and we're going to go to the ranch.
That's right. I got to get him to the ranch. He's never been there.
I've never been. I haven't got to go yet. Our booth is at Morgan Hill, so I have yet to get to the ranch yet. So there's going to be the celebration and the award ceremony.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be like a little after gathering.
So that's what I'm hearing. We're going to get out there somehow.
I heard pizza and beer.
That's fine with me because, I just started drinking beer again. Apparently.
I heard pizza and beer, possibly at the ranch. So I will be going to that.
Yes.
Rubbing my hands in the dirt in the holy grounds that is the ranch in Aromas, California. So we won't do a YouTube thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to save our day 3 and our full games recap for our Analyzing the Programming episode for the 2020 CrossFit Games. We're going to look at the programming specifically, analyze that as we always do, and recap the weekend in more detail.
Well, and I think, the recap is good, but now that we will have the final day, that's when we get to look at the entire competition as a whole. And I think that's what will be important. So I'm excited for that one because there are so many questions, but I think that, once the entire weekend unfolds, it really allows us to get a good chance to see what it looks like.
Yeah. So we'll do our Analyze the Programming. We'll do our rush moments.
Yeah.
And we're still making some good memories.
Yes.
I might use this one.
This one is actually pretty cool.
So don't take it from me.
I won't take it.
Spoiler alert.
I won't take it.
Hanging with you guys.
It's
so cool.
It is the first time we've done this.
It is the first time
we've done this. It is a rush moment.
And it's freaking late. You guys are nuts.
Yeah.
You guys are nuts. But thank you.
Anyway.
Hey, tune in tomorrow. Again, it's not over in terms of excitement. It's not over in terms of enjoying greatness happen in front of our eyes. Matt is going for 5. Tia is going to tie currently the greatest CrossFitter of all time for 4.
Yeah.
Until Matt gets 5. So there's a lot going on. And then again, 2nd through 5th, roller coaster. It hasn't been the same any single event.
If for some reason you get bored for whatever reason, just put your hand over the first place and watch the rest of it, because it will be literally a show like none that we've had at the CrossFit Games.
And
so
what we're gonna hopefully do in the coverage is really get the race for the podium in there as well. So it's not just going to be the Matt and Tia show. We're going to give you guys the full story, the full coverage, and all the drama that comes with the final day of the CrossFit Games.
And if we do have an open mic, please tell us so that we don't say something stupid.
Yeah.
Those of you guys that have thanks.
Yes, thank you. It's like the broccoli in our teeth version of broadcasting.
Totally. It's bad. It's bad.
Except I got to make sure that I'm not swearing anymore off chat. Because when I get excited, I swear.
It happens.
Or when I'm working out. I feel like I always say I have fitness-induced Tourette's.
Totally. Everybody does.
And driving-induced Tourette's.
And drinking
and
induced
excitement, and maybe I just have
workout, commentating induced Tourette's.
Yeah, all right. I got some problems. I got to clean it up. All right, guys. Anyway. Hey, thank you for all the guys that were hanging with us tonight. It really, again,
thanks,
love you guys. This is so cool. Never in a million years did I think we would do this one side by side. Who knows what's going to happen? But you guys would want to hang out with us. So it means a lot. Thank you for watching. Tanya, love you.
Tanya, coffee tomorrow.
See you in the morning.
Coffee tomorrow.
See you in the morning. Guys, see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun-filled day. We got 2 events we don't know. One event we do. And I trust in Dave Castro that we will not be disappointed at the end of the day. All right, y'all. As I lean in and look in with my old man eyes, where's the butt?